Evening, everyone. Tonight I'm going to be talking about flyers and the various ones that I've managed to pick up over the years in terms of events that I've been to, ones that I wanted to go to but unfortunately couldn't make it for whatever reason, and some that I've just picked up within packs and everything that used to get handed out. So I'm going to be sort of starting on the hard house ones first of all. I'll then go through some hardcore. I've got some trance, and sort of harder style ones as well. Yeah, this is just to give sort of yourselves and people out there just a bit of insight as into terms of the events and everything that I've been to, and sort of done for me and impacted on me. So the first one I'm going to start with is this one, which was a night in Bristol called Scream. Scream were very, very popular throughout the very sort of early 2000s, with a night pretty much on most sort of Fridays. It started out and then went on to Saturdays eventually. They started off at the what was then called Rock, changed to the Carlin Academy, and then of course went to O2 Academy eventually. But for me, this was my first event that I went to back in November of 2001, and this was Scream's first birthday. So the event that I went to, as you can see, is all back to front, unfortunately, but it is one there by Lisa Lashes and Lisa Pinup. Um, the night was absolutely brilliant. All I can just remember was just going in and thinking, "Wow, this place is proper rocking." Lashes played an amazing set. Pinup didn't turn up, unfortunately, and I believe she was ill that night, but they got in, I think, John Doe to replace, which is a great replacement anyway. But all I can just take from it is the fact that she played this tune called JFK Good God, and of course the place just went off. And funnily enough, the next day when I actually got up from being asleep, I actually went down to Replay Records, which used to be a very sort of popular record shop within Bristol and Bath. Went down to the Bath one and just bought myself some vinyl, just purely off the back of that. And that'll be my event that I would never ever forget. Any good memories with that one. Next one was a little event called All Points West. This was started up, I believe, by possibly Mark Austin and Ed Carney, who was two sort of like resident DJs that were in Bristol that were sort of like, well sort of known back then. And this was just an event that we happened to pick up on that was in the Carlin Academy as well. So we went off there and had a good old night with that one there, which was very, very good. And of course, they had other DJs on there as well, as you can see from the likes of Paul Maddox, Jez and Charlie, Lee Haslam, Andy Farley. Some very, very well known names of that one. Next one I'm going to go on to is this one, which is from Tidy. And this one was actually done at the Opera House down in Bournemouth. Now, the Opera House has been very well known for the likes of Slinky, and it was one place I wanted to go because of that, association with it as well. Because Slinky was a very, very good event that I used to go to in Bristol, and I've got a flower that I'll get into in a bit with that. But of course, this was the event that I wanted to go to because of that. And again, this had a really, really, really good lineup on it, and the event was very, very good. Next one I'm going to do is another Tidy one. That was the Hard House Euphoria celebration event. And of course, I talked about the CD album originally in my first little, documentary that I did. And this one was just an event that I wanted to go to because of that reason with the CD and obviously what it means to us. So I'm very grateful that I managed to get down to that one itself. Now, this was done at the Mill in Birmingham, which used to be, as I knew it, as the Rainbow Warehouse, which I went to a couple of hardcore events at there itself. But yeah, very, very good top lineup, and I was happy that I did that one because that was my last one before COVID all came in. That was the last weekender that I went to. Tidy weekender up at Southport, Pontins in Southport. Pontins was in no certain terms a shithole, but in all fairness, it was literally just a place just to sort of put your head down to sleep. Just used it as a base. But I was very lucky to actually be able to work at this one for Tidy itself. And managed to get a AAA pass for the event, which meant I could go to in these sort of areas, and it wasn't that much of a problem. But it just meant that it was really, really nice that I could do that and was, kind of part of Tidy at the time. So yeah, that was back in 2023. was that one. This was a night called Frantic. This was a London-based event that I went to. It started off in 1997, and this was their 20th anniversary, so of course in 2017. Now, as you can see on there, Coco was the name of the club at the time, but everybody knows it as Camden Palace. And that was a really good and awesome venue. It's almost like an old theatre, is what I want to sort of class it as, but the sound was amazing inside it. You've got the lineup there with some very well-known faces on there: Lisa Lashes, Signum, Andy Whitby, Steve Hill, Phil Reynolds, Andy Farley, and then you've got the likes of Ben Stevens, Skull, and many others down in the sort of smaller rooms as well. But no, just an amazing event. And the one thing I'll take from it as well is that is the first event I've managed to stay up past 6 o'clock in the morning. And by that point, you just get to a point where you're just like, you don't want to go to sleep. But of course, as soon as I got on the bus, that was it. I was out cold. But yeah, that was a great night that I will never forget with that one. Now then, this one here, this is a house event that I went to pretty much between the years of, I want to say it was something like 2010 to about 2013, 14 maybe. But the event is called Work. Now, Work is more of a sort of house-based event, and this one was in conjunction with Sick Duck. Now, Sick Duck is what is was mainly done by somebody called Alex Allen, who's a very good friend of ours. And basically, he then wanted to obviously do the event with Work. So as you can see, it says verses up on there. So you get all different sort of types of styles of house in there. You've got progressive house, your deep house, your tech house, and that was what the event was mainly all focused around. But it was good as well because you had another room towards the back of the club itself where you might have a little bit of, say, trance or drum and bass, whatever, other little sort of like smaller sort of DJs and that would come in that were trying to do possibly their event, and they may have got a little bit of a space where they could do it. So that was really good. But these used to be in a club called Timbuktu, which is where most of their sort of events took place, did Work. But they also done it at the Arc Bar as well. And I was quite lucky to actually DJ at one of the events that Alex Allen managed to get me and him on, which was in the bottom floor of Arc Bar itself. It was very sort of like sad in some respects because literally when we came on to play, nobody was left in the club. But sometimes that's how it goes, and we just made the most of it anyway. Just sort of played as we wished in some respects. But still, very very good events with those ones. Next one is good old Gothic Kitchen. Now, this was a trance event that again originated around in about 1995, I believe. And mainly they were up in Birmingham with the likes of Air, which was a big, massive nightclub up there. But of course, they went all over the country and toured. Now, this one was originally at and done at the O2 Institute in Birmingham. And as you can see, the event that I went to was the Friday night one, and the list on there, because it's a little bit blurry, is you've got the likes of Eddie Halliwell, Aly & Filler, Solarstone, just to name a few. Then you'd have your Hard House Arena, which is polysexual. Again, the likes of Scott Project, Rob Tezera, and Savage, Nick Rafferty. And then you'd have some other rooms as well, which were more sort of house rooms, and then you'd have some other sort of like older generation ones as well of trance. So like the DJs of Airwave, Paul Thomas, Funk Agenda, Fairy Tale. So yeah, it was a massive, massive top of event. I got one of these like little metal lanyards as well, which were the VIPs. We also got some CDs with it as well, which was great because then that means I got something to remember the night by. With the two DJs who I think are Sam Mitchum and somebody else who actually done the mixes on those, which was very good. But yeah, one I would never forget. And we were mainly in the polysexual room that night, but that doesn't matter. It was just more of a case of experiencing the event and giving God's Kitchen a good old send off. Now then, this for me is probably where I'm most sort of should we say, happiest with in terms of the other event that went on in Bristol, which was Slinky. Now, this came in 2001 to Bristol. It was originally in Bournemouth from 1997. But I was very lucky and pleased that they came up to Bristol in 2001 because, of course, that was when I started to go out, clubs and that. But what makes it even more special is they used to do it at Creation, which is an old club that doesn't exist anymore down on Baldwin Street. And the main reason why I love it, as you might be able to see on there, is from a DJ duo called Dumond, who are my favourite hard trance DJs. Now, of course, Slinky were mainly that sort of base around trance, but you would have house in there as well, depending on which DJs they had. They were mainly all on, and generally were on a Friday night, if I can remember. I think they did Saturdays as well at some point. But yeah, just the lineups and everything they used to have on there were absolute great. And you'd have a little back room as well, which used to sort of tend to have more sort of like house and little bits of drum and bass as well. I never sort of went into those rooms, but were really really cool. But as you can see on the bottom of there, you might be able to. It says funky house and a garage. So yeah, it had sort of like good sort of mixture of sounds and that going on. My next one is an event called Good Grief. Now, this one I believe was started up in the year 2000. This was the only Good Grief event that I've been to, and it's the one right at the top there with Adam Sheridan and Shan. Now, both of these were very, very well respected DJs within the Good Grief community. I don't know if they started it up, but they've always been sort of mainly playing for the brand itself, and I believe they were residents back then. But I went to that event with two of my mates, Neil and Paul, back in 2001, I believe, over to good old Magaluf. The club that we went to back then, it was absolutely amazing. And the crud, sorry, not the crud, the club itself was called Fusion. It had this sort of like, old Greek amphitheatre feeling to it, but it was all down underneath the main clubs. But yeah, great event that I would never forget with that one. Heaven and Hell. This one was an event which happened at the depot in Bristol, which now doesn't exist. But I was very lucky because I managed to, as you might be able to see on there, DJ Stylus, I was a competition winner with BristolScene.com. And I was very lucky to have played at this event in the main room itself. I started off the event, and that was an event that I really, really enjoyed, and it just gave us something else that was a bit different with Depot because, of course, it was more of an out of town club, being more in, shall we say, Eastern. But yeah, no, it was enjoyable, and I was just glad that I managed to win the competition and kind of do it around then, which was great. And that was back in 2003. So, Bionic. Yes, what an event this was. Now, I believe they used to do mainly them in Cardiff, but they would also then spread them over here in Bristol as well. They were mainly at Motion. Now, of course, this one was one that I went to in Motion as well. I went to about 4 or 5 different Bionic events. Each one's really, really good at the time. And we always used to get the main sort of VIP access because they used to have like a little stage at the back, which I'm pretty sure they've still got, that sort of looks over the whole main arena itself. But they've got about 3 or 4 rooms in Motion. It's great. And as you can see from up here, you've got a whole load of different DJs that are on the lineup there. This one mainly tackles the styles of hard trance, hard style, hardcore. You may be even getting into sort of gabber and techno as well with these. Some of the DJs that you've got on here, for example, Dyson Reality, which are two very good and well-known Bristol DJs, Marky G, Jerry Riot, Mark Smith, DJ Kurt, M Zone, John the Baptist, Scott Project Shock, Activator, Callie and Juice, Brian Emma McBunn. But yeah, that particular events that went on there, they don't exist anymore, Bionic, unfortunately. But I'm glad I went to them because they were very, very good. Fantasia. Been around for absolute donkey's years. Again, was at Motion. I think this was my first Fantasia I went to. Fantasia have always been an old school event, and as you can see from that flyer there, You won't be able to see the names, but basically they run through anything that's old school, jungle, drum and bass. You then got things like techno and hardcore, but these are a very, very well-known brand that kind of started up in the 90s, really, and they've just been going ever since. Slamming vinyl down at the Sanctuary in Milton Keynes. Now, I believe this was my first slamming vinyl at the Sanctuary down in Milton Keynes, and I used to go down there with my mate Paul. He used to put on some proper legendary events down at Milton Keynes and the Fast Tracks arenas. But as you can see on there, all hardcore. But of course, with slamming vinyl, you also had old school and drum and bass as well. So you had a good sort of plethora of different styles of music going on there. But really glad that I went down to the Sanctuary because it doesn't exist. It's an IKEA. That was my first slamming vinyl event at the Q Club in Birmingham. Really glad that I managed to get up to the Q Club. Only ever event that I went to at the Q Club, but the place was absolute mint. You'd have it over about 4 rooms, as you can see. So you've got drum and bass room, hardcore room, old school room, and I believe on there as well you would have some sort of hard house and techno as well. But with this one, you have the likes of Andy C, Black Market, Kenny Ken, DJ SS, Billy Bunter, Brisk, Psy, Vinyl Trickster, Slipmat, Rat Pack, and Donovan Bad Boy Smith. So yeah, it was a really good event that I went to back in February 2002 up in Birmingham. And all I remember after the event itself is literally going to New Street train station, trying to get McDonald's, nowhere was open, and we just thought, right, sod this, we'll just stay on the train station until the trains come. And they weren't going to come for 3 hours. Still, we had good fun. That was my main hardcore event that I played for in Bristol. Absolute Hardcore is a very well-known event in Bristol, and I managed to get this event through somebody called Regan Smith, aka DJ Reegs, and he invited me to come and play in room 3. So as you can see, in room 3 there was Stylus down the bottom there. But like I say, I was very, appreciative of playing at this event because it gave me a little bit of a foot into, sort of playing then some more hardcore events over the years. So, yeah, but no, that was a very good event to have played in that. Again, nobody really came into the room till about 10 or 15 minutes from the end of the actual set, but that doesn't matter. Sometimes that's just how it goes. Uproar, down at the Brunel Rooms in Swindon. This was my first hardcore event down in Swindon itself, and it was actually very good. And we used to enjoy the sets, mainly from DJ Psy and from Styles and Breeze as well. But of course, Scott Brown was always, a good one to listen to. This was actually DJ Seductions own event itself. But yeah, we went to another one down there as well, which is a slightly smaller Uproar event, but still very good. Couldn't complain. And when you've got a revolving bar within then the Brunel Rooms, couldn't really ask for much more, could you? That was my first Hardcore Heaven event that I went to at the Sanctuary down in Milton Keynes again. Again, another cracking lineup there. You'll probably be able to see some of the DJs that were on and playing on that one as well. But again, of course, it's mainly all hardcore, and you might have a little bit of sort of, gabber and techno and hardstyle and hard house in there as well. But yeah, really enjoyable with that one. So, one more to show you, and the one that I've managed to get to that I always wanted to get to on my list was this one over in Cardiff, which was about a year or two ago now, from The Prodigy. Always wanted to go and see The Prodigy because of their old school hardcore sound that they used to produce back in the early 90s. So that is one that I managed to tick off my list, and very grateful and thankful that I did that. Plus, just for a bit of fun, still, that's with the Flyers in terms of what I've been to. Now I have got, should we say, tons and tons more different Flyers that I could show you, for example, but there's too many of them to kind of go through really. But let's see, there's a load more sort of Flyers, and varying little bits of information I've got over the years, which to me is great. And it's sad that we don't really have those sort of physical flyers that you could get anymore. You will get some that you may be able to see in some record shops or maybe in a cafe or like a barber's or something they've got on the side. But because everything's now gone online, it's it's not like good to have that physical thing where you could go out of the club at the end of the night and think, oh, right, you're going to be given all these flyers or a flyer pack or something like that. What most events are going to be coming on. Whereas now, everything, of course, and I understand it because of costs, are all on Facebook and everything. It is fine because that's how it is, but it's just a shame that that's how it's kind of gone. But no, I'm just so glad that I went out when I did and managed to get to the events with the flyers that I have managed to pick up over the years. I hope that's been of some use or some help, or maybe even given some people some knowledge in terms of how it's affected me and everything else. But yeah, I will be doing another one reasonably soon as well to go through something else within the sort of CDs, vinyl, and everything else that I'm going to be going through. So I'll pick one of them, see how I can do that and take it. But yeah, hope you enjoyed it. See you guys.